In this segment, Melanie and I are going to be talking sports, actually more sports, with none other than Les Levine. Hi, Les. How are you?
I'm terrific. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you on.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. What do you think, Mel? You ready to talk some sports?
I am. Well, you got two women talking sports.
Yes, yes.
I talk to men mostly, and I guarantee you've got as good a shot as knowing more than they do.
Well, you are basically Mr. Sports himself. You've been very well known, especially in the Cleveland area, and you've been in over 39 different states doing all your thing on radio and TV. Can you talk a little bit about some of the big things that you've accomplished already?
Yeah, the 39 states, in doing play-by-play, and I've probably done over 2,500 play-by-play events, and I like to travel, and I've been fortunate. I got to travel to 39 different states doing them. I've got a few more I need to tick off on my list.
Okay. Now, you've covered everything from what, hockey to I know baseball,
Right.
football, and so I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Far and away baseball. Not this year so
Okay.
much.
That's right.
But I think, I know Brad Sellers is here. He'll be offended when I say this. Baseball is the greatest game ever invented.
Okay.
Yes.
So
like baseball,
just
too.
the all-American sport, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely.
You're Mr. Sports, and so I want to ask you, where you grew up, and did this love of sports develop as a child?
Yeah, I grew up right here in Cleveland.
Okay.
And went to Roselle School for a year or two, then Gracemont School. Then we got then we moved way on up to South Euclid. And I went to school in South Euclid, graduated from Brush High, and went and graduated from Ohio State.
Okay. So as a kid, were you like on, sports teams? Did your dad push you towards sports?
Yeah, I was probably the best baseball player at 11 years old in the city, and I never got better than that.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, now I see that you're a 34-year-old veteran of radio and television,
Right.
and you said you graduated from Ohio State University.
Right.
But I noticed that your degree is in political science.
Correct.
And so how does political science and sports, how does that overlap?
It doesn't. The degree in political science allows me to vote, so I'll be doing that.
That's
but
important.
I think the plan was to go to law school and be senator from the state of Ohio, and that sort of got derailed somewhere along the line.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
got into sports because it's something I always enjoyed, and for all these years you're talking about, I've been able to, they call it work, but to me it hasn't been work.
Yeah. Now, do you have brothers or sisters who were also like involved in sports, or were you the only sports kid?
No. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and my older brother was a tremendous athlete, and
Okay.
so you're always trying to. I guess you can go two ways. You can be turned off by it because he was so good, or you can try to be better than him. I never got better than him.
Never got better. I don't know.
Close.
Close. Okay, close. Yeah.
Very good. Can you give everyone a highlight of, now you've been to over 39 different states
Right.
doing your, play-by-play for the different sports. Can you kind of give a highlight of the places you've been, or maybe something that really stood out to you, a favorite of yours?
Probably the most fun that I had, or the biggest game that I did, was when I did Cleveland State games for 20-some years, 23 years.
Go Vikings. That's right, I just have to throw
And
that
when
out
they went to the NCAA tournament back in 1985 and they beat Indiana, that probably, obviously for Cleveland State's point of view, that was the best time. But for as a broadcaster, that was historic, and it came really close to being even better. They beat Indiana, then they beat St. Joseph's, and they came within 1 point of Navy with David Robinson. And if they had beaten them, who knows what would have happened. It would have been one of the great stories of all times in sports if they could have gotten another game or two under their belt.
So you said, that was like the greatest time probably, or one of the greatest times of your career. But let's talk about how you started out and how you got to have the Les Levine show.
Yeah. Well, I joked that somebody called me and said, we have an opening for a show called More Sports and Les Levine, and you should apply for it. But that's not quite how it happened. I started out, I got a job at a small radio station in Indiana, and I actually did, I was a terrible disc jockey, but to do sports you had to do disc jockeying, news, selling commercials, sweep the floor, whatever you had to do. And I happened to do a basketball game when Larry Bird was in 10th grade. I did a game of his, and I'd like to say that at that moment I knew he'd be one of the greatest players of all time, but I think he scored 6 points in that game, so it didn't happen. But I was like anybody else who's lasted or done something in radio and TV. You start at the smallest station, at the smallest amount of money, but it didn't matter to me. I would have paid them to be able to do some of the things that I did. I got to do 2 or 3 high school basketball games a week, 2 football games, baseball games, and you can't. That's like an extension of your education. I would have paid for that. I wouldn't tell them that then, but now I look back and I would have paid for it.
That's exciting.
So after you, well, what kind of small markets did you work in, and did you do mostly radio, and then you are doing the television now?
Yeah, I've done did radio from 1970 to 1996. I was in station management also in a couple of stations in Akron. I was a sales manager, regional sales manager, but I always was able to freelance doing sports, and then the sports actually turned into a full-time thing, I think, in 1989.
Okay. Now, what do you like best? Do you like talking and interacting with your listeners the best? I got a feeling maybe that's it, or am I wrong?
Well, that's part of it,
Okay.
and I like meeting players that I grew up admiring. For example, in a show coming up shortly, I'm going to have Paul Warfield on the show, and to me, this is one of the. I remember him, and I didn't see him when he played in Warren, but I saw him at Ohio State and saw him with the Browns and Miami Dolphins and back with the Browns. And here's a guy I cheered for as a kid, and now I'm getting to meet with him and talk with him on a level and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. And maybe I fake it good enough that he thinks he can talk to me on that same level. So I really enjoy that.
Okay.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Now, when can viewers watch you on your show?
And my show's on Monday through Friday here on Neon, which is Northeast Ohio network of Time Warner, Channel 23 throughout Northeast Ohio. We do it live from 6 to 7, and it's replayed at 11 o'clock. So it's on 2 hours per night, 5 nights a week.
Okay. So you know what, Les? It's really been great having you on the show. And before we go, I wanted to ask you a quick question. Are you thinking about doing another show or extending your show, because I think people love watching you so much?
I appreciate that. Brett Favre apparently, now there's some word that he has text messaged the top men over at the Green Bay Packers and indicating that he might be interested in playing again. And my theory is once you cry at a press conference to announce that you're retiring, you have to retire. Right? Everybody agree with that? Yeah. No question. Once you cry, that's it. I mean, you're allowed to cry. I don't have a problem with people crying at press conferences, but I just don't think you should be allowed to come back. There you have it. I also do work with FSN Ohio, Fox Sports Net.
Okay. Well, thanks again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. And so stay with us. We'll be right back with another look.